Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 2. Can I hear some noise in the chat, y'all? We are live for day 2 for the Grace Under Fire. I am so excited to be here. I am Kayla Tucker, and I am ushering you all in. We're going to have some great conversation. We're going to be engaging, recapping from last night, and getting into like all the things because so much happened last night. But before we get into last night, let's chat. Let's get to know each other. I'm talking to you. I would love for you to talk to me. So I'm interested to know, where are you all from? Where are you streaming from? The beauty about being virtual is that we get to connect with sisters all over the globe. So tell me, where are you from? You know, we're in Dallas. It's a little hot in Dallas. I would love to know where you ladies are streaming from with us. Let's see. We have some hellos. Hi, how are you all doing? Leave a hey girl, hey text in the chat. I also want to know if you were here with us yesterday. We're going to recap, but maybe you can go ahead and kind of let me know what your takeaways were from last night with Christine Kane. It was amazing. It was so amazing. Okay, Texas, DC. Okay, DC. I love that. Welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. Atlanta always shows out. You know, I appreciate the sisterhood that we have in Atlanta. Chicago, the food, amazing. Popcorn, amazing. Maybe we can work out something where you send me something a little later. But yes, welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. Kansas City, Florida. How many of you were with us last evening? Please let me know because we're going to get into all of the good nuggets and the takeaways. But I'm very interested to know what your takeaway was yesterday. And if this is your first session, thank you so much for joining us. You know, we love that you decided to spend your evening with us and pouring into yourself because there is going to be, I believe, a reason why you are logging on today. So, yes, Kansas City, Dallas. Hey, Dallas, Dallas, Dallas. I love seeing women from all over the country. And so this is going to be engaging. Y'all keep talking to each other in the chat, get to know one another, and we're just going to have a really great time. All right, so speaking of yesterday, you guys, we had a time last night. A time was had. How many of you were in the room? I need to know because I was so excited. I was jotting down in my notebook and my pad, Christine Kane, the woman of God that you are. Thank you so much for pouring into us. I really thought about doing an accent. You know, I was inspired by Christine Kane with her Australian accent, but I figured I don't really quite know how to do that. So I was just going to leave that to her. But it was amazing last night, you guys. Something that I took away is that it's not enough to just know what God says, but you actually have to believe it. She was all up in my business because that's so true. We were reminded that in a world that has constantly tries to rename us, constantly trying to redefine us and reshape our identity, our true identity is found in Christ and in Christ alone. Yes. Will there be a replay? There will be a replay. So yes, you will be able to eat and feast on that time and time again. As we continue our journey through this year's theme, Unshaken, we're building on that foundation because once you know who you are, the next challenge becomes learning how to remain steady while the world around you is anything but. Can I get a witness on that? Because every day it feels like something new, right? Absolutely. Yes, we did. We loved Christine Kane. She is so amazing. Yes, love, love, love. So I encourage you all, the replay, make sure that you watch it. Do some notes. I'm still seeing people. Yep, there will be a replay. And absolutely, love, love, love Christine Kane. Okay, so now we're going to focus on day 2. We have some really amazing things in store for you today. Today's focus is standing in the noise. Oof. The noise can be a lot, and standing in it can be a lot as well. And if we're honest, the world has become so incredibly loud. Standing in my living room with my kids is loud, you know? So if we even take that and extend that outward outside of our house, it is so loud and it's so busy. We're flooded with different things from headlines around the world. We have social media updates, breaking news, political conversations, family responsibilities, you guys. It is so loud. And as women, we carry so much. I was thinking the other day, I'm every woman. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I am not every woman because the weight of the world sometimes can take a toll and the noise can be so incredibly loud. So we are going to focus on standing in the noise and how somewhere in the middle of that, trying to protect our own peace, because that's really important. So there's going to be some conversations that are designed around this conversation and to help us answer some important questions. So some questions that I would like for you to reflect on as we go throughout this journey is, how do we stay informed without becoming overwhelmed? Right? That's a challenge. And so we're gonna get into that. Another question, how do we remain compassionate without becoming emotionally exhausted? That one, my friends, that's a good one because we try to lend ourselves and be everything to everyone, but sometimes, most of the time, it does take an emotional toll on you. So how do we remain balanced in the midst of that? How do we engage the world without losing ourselves? We have so many things happening in the world, so many directions that we're being pulled in, so many people telling us who we should be, what it should look like. But how do we balance that? How do we engage but still remain ourselves and who we are in Christ? And most importantly, how do you stay you, because I'm talking to you, me, this is for me as well, how do I stay anchored in God when everything around me feels so uncertain, right? All right, so we're going to go deep, 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 deep. And so I hope you all came ready. Looking into the chat, you all seem like you all are ready. So I'm so, so excited. Someone said, last night was amazing and timely, and I could not agree more. And yes, I can't wait to get my cup as well. All right, something so exciting also is happening today. It is the debutante takeover. So we are going to be focusing on our distinctively debutantes takeover day. Let's drop some fires, some claps in the emojis in the chat. So one of the greatest joys of Grace Under Fire is that this conference isn't just about investing in where women are today, but it's about pulling back and actually seeing about the next generation of women leaders that come behind us. So I have the privilege of serving as a mentor. Yes. Okay, so I said, I'm every woman. Maybe I am, because I also am a mentor for some amazing young ladies that are coming through the Distinctively Debutantes program. I'm also an alum. Yes. And so I know firsthand that I have benefited tremendously from this program. And so I can tell you firsthand that these ladies are incredibly gifted. They are super talented, on fire for God, purpose-driven, and some really world leaders that are in the making. So throughout the year, the Debutante program affords us an opportunity to pour into the lives of these young ladies from across the world by helping them grow in different areas. Some of those areas are leadership, education, service, confidence, and faith. And so as a mentor, it has been so amazing to watch how these ladies evolve. Each session, I take away things. I always say, we're there to pour into them, but they truly pour into us. They are able to really just show us what's possible and to see that these young ladies are so on fire for God and they're so ambitious. And I just am just so in awe every time that I meet one of these young ladies. So you'll be able to experience a little bit of that for yourself. So following our first panel discussion, our debutantes will officially take over the conference during intermission. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. So don't log out during the break. Stay with us. Cheer my girls on in the chat. I want y'all to engage with them, ask some questions, and help us celebrate the incredible future leaders who are already making such an impact and leaving their mark on the world. So yes. Oh, they said they love me in the chat. I love you guys. It's so amazing. Okay, so let's hear from you. One word, ladies. I want to see how you are showing up today. Tell me in the chat. How are you showing up today? Maybe you're hopeful. Maybe you're tired. That's fair. It has been a long week. Many of us are mothers or have nieces that have started school, nephews that have started school. So maybe you're tired. I can raise my hand on that one. Maybe you're expectant. Maybe you're overwhelmed, or maybe you're simply just grateful, ready to release. I understand that wholeheartedly. So, whatever it is that you're carrying today, I want you all to know that we are here for you and this is a safe space. One thing I love about Grace Under Fire and the spaces that distinctively her cultivates is that we never have to show up pretending. We can come as we are, the real, the raw, and we don't have to pretend like we have it all together. I know I do not have it together. And so I love the space that has been created with the Distinctively Her program because it allows us to just grow. It allows us to learn, heal, and encourage one another. Open. Someone said open in the chat. That is an amazing word to say that's how you want to show up. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have an amazing night in store for you. Are y'all ready? Do you know what y'all are in for? I'm gonna tell you. So we're gonna start with our first session today, and one that I truly believe that every woman needs to hear. Today's panel, Standing in the Noise, will explore how women can remain informed, engaged, and compassionate without becoming emotionally exhausted, spiritually numb, and mentally overwhelmed. I'm in need, right? Together, our panelists will discuss practical ways to protect our peace, steward our mental well-being, and continue leading with wisdom and purpose while navigating the realities of everyday life. So, you're probably asking yourself, who is guiding this conversation? Well, I'll tell you. It is none other than our incredible moderator, Brittany Johnson. So Brittany Johnson is an Emmy award-winning journalist and also a co-anchor of NBC5 News at 10 p.m. in none other than Dallas-Fort Worth, where she is known for telling stories that inform, empower, and inspire. Throughout a career spanning Texas, North Carolina, Arkansas, and Louisiana, she's been everywhere. She has covered some of the nation's most pressing issues, including mental health and affordable housing, earning recognition from the Associated Press, the Texas Psychological Association, and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters. Yes, ma'am. A graduate of Howard University and the University of California, Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism, Brittany has built a reputation for asking thoughtful questions, translating complex topics into meaningful conversations, and connecting audiences with information that helps improve their everyday lives. Beyond the anchor desk, Brittany is a certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and founder of Best Life Health Coaching. Driven by her passion for wellness, she is dedicated to helping people build healthier, more balanced lives by creating sustainable habits for that support long-term success, resilience, and well-being. Committed to serving her community, Brittany serves as chair of NAMI North Texas Walks and honorary chair of the Community Council of Greater Dallas's Family Fit Fest. Whether she's reporting the day's biggest headlines, coaching clients towards healthier lives, or leading conversations with changemakers, Brittany is driven by one mission, and that is helping people become more informed, empowered, and equipped to thrive. So, who else is going to be on this panel? I'll tell you, Dr. Anita Phillips. She is no stranger to us. She is the lead pastor at Potter's House Church in Los Angeles, a trauma therapist, life coach, spiritual teacher, and the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Garden Within. She is widely recognized as a thought leader at the intersection of mental health, faith, and culture. Her mental health advocacy work has reached hundreds of thousands, and her podcast, In the Light with Dr. Anita, has transformed lives around the globe. Dr. Anita holds degrees from University of Maryland and the Regent University School of Psychology and Counseling, and completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. In her downtime, the New Jersey native adores a good pint of ice cream. Who doesn't, right? Sitting by the ocean in the company of her family and friends. We also have Joteka Edie, who is the founder and CEO of Full Circle Strategies, a social impact consulting firm. She is a seasoned strategist with over 20 years of experience in policy, advocacy, and movement building. Described by Forbes as the Olivia Pope of Silicon Valley, she has advised major initiatives including Oprah Winfrey's own Your Vote campaign, Goldman Sachs' 1 Billion, 1 Million Black Women Initiative, and a platform changes that helps with leading tech firms. In 2020, she founded the hashtag Win with Black Women, a high impact network of Black women leaders created with helping shape the historic election of the first Black woman vice president of the United States. Previously, she served as a senior advisor to the NAACP and led landmark advocacy efforts to abolish the juvenile death penalty. Last but not least, we have Toni Collier. She is the founder of an organization called Broken Crayon Still Color that helps women and children process through brokenness and get to healing and hope. Toni is a speaker, host of the Still Coloring podcast, and author of several books that include Don't Try This Alone, Brave Enough to Be Broken, and a children's book, Broken Crayon Still Color. Toni has had the opportunity to proudly stand on stages for Chick-fil-A. She has been featured on digital platforms like YouVersion's The Bible app, and she's a regular guest on TBN's TV program for women, Better Together. Toni kills illusions. She confronts the hard things. She believes that the best way to meet life's challenges is head on. And in this digital age of anxiety, Toni is teaching people all over the globe that you can be broken and still worthy, or you can feel unqualified and still be called to do great things. Toni wants to help you find a way through the brokenness in your life so you can live the most colorful life possible. I encourage you, ladies, let's lean in, let's take notes, and engage with us throughout this conversation by sharing your thoughts. Now, please join me in welcoming our amazing moderator, Brittany Johnson, and our incredible panelists for today's discussion, Standing in the Noise.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction. I am thrilled to be here. It really is an honor to be a part of a conversation that is really important, especially right now, and to be having it with such an incredible group of women. One of the things that I know I appreciate most about this year's conference is we're keeping it real, okay? We're not pretending that everything's perfect or like things aren't hard sometimes. Each day it can feel like we're overwhelmed with social media. There are headlines about crisis after crisis, so many things that are happening. And for many of us, it can lead to feeling discouraged or overwhelmed. And the world, since it moves so quickly, if we're not careful, it can begin to shape our thoughts and just how we go out into the world and how we think. And so it's really important, especially as women who carry so much all the time. I think it's very important that as we are caring for ourselves and for our families and for our community and for our work and for the people of God who He's put into our lives, knowing that we want to make a difference, knowing that we want to stand for our communities and for what is right, that we continue to take care of ourselves and we ask ourselves how we're doing with the weight of everything that we're carrying. And so that's really the heart of today's conversation. Over the next few moments, we're really going to dive into talking honestly about how we feel and about what it's like trying to remain informed without being consumed by the information that we are taking in. How do we advocate for our communities with wisdom instead of burnout? And how do we protect our peace while also making sure that we feel like we're walking in our purpose? And so my hope today is that while this is certainly a panel discussion, that it doesn't feel like that it feels like sisters just talking together, people sharing how we walk amid the realities of life, but how we continue to show up for ourselves in the world with everything that we're dealing with. So ladies, thank you so much for your time today. Want to let you know Toni's going to be joining us in just a little bit. We are thrilled to have this conversation with you.
Thanks for having us.
Let's go ahead and dive right in. And I have to tell you, I've got my notes. So I hope everyone, if you've got a pen or a paper or your phone, whatever it is, because we're going to talk about just some tangible ways that we can walk even amid the heaviness, right? And prioritize ourselves and our self-care. We want to start with where we are and the need to both feel aware, but also not be overwhelmed with all that we're taking in. Ladies, in a culture where for a lot of us it feels too important, we can't just step out of this. We have to be aware. We're balancing awareness and compassion. How do we know we've crossed the line? Like, how do we know when we've crossed the line of being informed and now we're just being emotionally consumed by the things that we're taking in? Dr. Anita, I'll start with you.
Well, I think there's a third word to add to that idea of overwhelmed versus compassion, which is safety. There's a sense of not being safe. And when we're looking at the news, particularly as Black American women. We're looking at children not being safe, young people not being safe. Is my child safe? How do I keep myself safe, my world safe? So I think that this sense of being in different forms of danger is actually also a driving force. So there is compassion, of course, for those whom we see suffering, but the extent to which we identify with them also speaks to our own sense of safety. So sometimes that consuming of information is also around what's happening and how can I keep myself and my loved ones safe as well. And when that sense of safety being out of reach brings an anxiety that undermines my daily capacity to experience the type of peace that I would like, I need to ask myself some questions.
What are some of those questions? And Joteka, please jump in.
Well, I agree with everything Dr. Anita has already said, but I think we cross that line when the information that we are consuming begins to rob us of our ability to do anything with it. So when we're so overwhelmed by what's happening in the world to the point where we can't think, we can't pray, we can't act, or we feel paralyzed by the information, it's my belief that that information is no longer serving my assignment. And ultimately, I am here with God's assignment for what it is and my purpose. And when I'm so overwhelmed, I believe that the best thing and the most godly thing that we can sometimes do is put the phone down, turn the television off, um, because it's a reminder to me that, I don't believe that we're called to know everything that's happening everywhere. And I think that's an important distinction for us. And God certainly didn't call us to carry everything on our own. But when we start consuming so much that we're paralyzed, it becomes the difference between being informed and being inundated. And I think it's important for us to understand the difference. And it's okay to step back. It's okay to say this is too much because it's not even allowing me um, to move forward. And I think that's the distinction. And of course, as Dr. Anita says, that's when we begin necessary work to ask ourselves the critical questions about our own safety and our own sense of peace.
And what are some of those questions? I mean, if people are resonating, if they're listening to what you're saying and they go, I've had that feeling where I'm so overwhelmed and inundated that I don't know what to do next, what should they ask next?
I would encourage people to go cold turkey a little bit. Let's do an information fast. Let's turn off the TV. Let's take our social media apps off of our phone. Give yourself even 3 days, even 72 hours can reveal so much about how it is distressing you to be consuming all of this information. It may also reveal other things that you might be avoiding by consuming information. So it's like when I laid this down, I found I had time to exercise or back on a project or building something with my business or a dream. A lot of times it's actually consuming so many things that would make us productive. So I encourage people to go cold turkey for a few days, maybe even a week or 2 weeks, and see what happens. Because as that anxious level of physical activation reduces, then when you add information back in, you can be aware of what you're actually protecting. That makes sense.
Yeah, Dr. Anita, you raised a very good point, and I think this point about this anxiousness that we often
Mhm.
feel. I think also a very important question is really pausing and saying, "What am I feeling in my body?
Right.
Where am I feeling this?" Because sometimes we're watching and consuming, and we're so inundated with so much information that is often distressing that it begins to attack our bodies in ways subtly that we don't notice until it's too late. We
Mhm.
don't notice that our blood pressure is continuing to go up. We don't recognize that we're not sleeping at night because we're on social media and we're in these algorithms and we're seeing it, and that a lack of sleep is impacting or affecting us, or we don't realize the mental anguish and the anxieties that we develop as a result of seeing all that's happening that is clearly distressing, particularly to us as Black women, because we are largely empathetic and we absorb so much because we're caretakers. And as caretakers, when you see anything or buildings that look on like they're on fire, it's a natural inclination sometimes for us, particularly the superwoman, Black woman, that many of us whether or not you agree or not, a lot of Black women carry that notion of I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to take care. And we often will run into those burning buildings to take care of our communities or who we care for. And in the process, sometimes we hurt ourselves.
Mm. Really great points. And I think for a lot of people, feeling the urge to step back is key. But Joteka, you also mentioned that sometimes we think about, or we're perhaps feeling tugged to make sure we're doing something that aligns with our assignment. So how do we know when maybe we're hearing something and it's because it's your turn to jump in? Perhaps you are equipped, right? And positioned to be of some service in this area. I give an example. I work in the news business, so I hear stories a lot. And there have been days where I hear a story and I go, oh, I can give platelets. I can do that. Or I remember when I got an electric vehicle and Meals on Wheels was short drivers because gas prices were high. And as distressing as it is to think about all the need in the community, sometimes it's nice to go, that's one little thing that I can do. So are there ever nods, or what's your advice to people who perhaps maybe they don't want to step back, but they're trying to figure out where their place is in doing perhaps a little something?
Oh, I agree with this notion that we all have an assignment. We all have a divine assignment, a divine purpose. What I also know is that it is not all the same.
Hmm.
And it's a very important distinction to recognize what your assignment is, and that you may be called to do one or two or three. Some people can carry four or five things, but you are not expected to carry everything. And recognizing and understanding, I believe, the power of collective power.
Hmm.
That is the notion where like I know that you have it over here in the media realm, in communications and making sure people are informed, where someone else, their ministry is a different ministry. But if we all play our part and we all step up when we can and we play our part, then the collective power allows us as a whole to move. Like I'm the firm believer that I like to think of freedom and liberation as we're all on a highway. Now, we all need to be going in the same direction, but we're all going to be in different cars
Hmm.
and we're going to be driving at different speeds. And those cars are all going to be different models. And as long as we're all moving in the same direction, I believe that's how we move collective power forward. And it's really, really important. When you need that rest, it's okay. It's okay to step back, because then you know that the others are moving forward as well.
And Dr. Anita, I'd like to continue on that same path with you. Have you had any moments where instead of perhaps stepping back, you thought, let me jump in?
Oh, for sure. I think stepping back kind of gives us a chance to let the fog clear. And then as we return, we can have a little bit more focus. And as my sister said, how do we have power and where do we have power to have impact? I also think it's important for us to stay in relationship.
Mm.
We have cultural strengths that sometimes work against us if we don't manage them well. So we can become an individual superwoman,
Mm.
or we can also lean into this action orientation that is very much a defining feature of our cultural space and connect with other people. We don't have to do everything alone.
Hmm.
It actually does help us emotionally regulate, to co regulate. Very often, our best self care is relational care.
Hmm.
Sit with someone, talk about the things that you're seeing, let the emotions kind of flow out in relationship. Lean into your church
Hmm.
organizations, your college alumni association. Maybe we're going to go and do something for the community as a group, because while I'm serving or doing something I have the power to do, I'm also being filled up by
Mm.
being arm in arm with people that I care about and who care about me. And so I'd like us to not think of everything in an individual way. What do I need to lay down? What do I do? What can I accomplish? But very often we can get so much more done in partnership with community, and the relationships also heal us back.
I appreciate that. I feel like both of you are tapping into the theme of just the collective action, the power of community. And you kind of take a deep breath, remembering that you're not in this alone. It
Yeah.
is not just for you to carry. And I appreciate the sort of tangible examples that you just gave about how to tap into that community. I want to see if we can share or maybe give some tangible examples for how to hone in on what your assignment is, because both of you sort of mentioned that it's not on you to carry everything, but we are confident that we do all have a thing that we are supposed to do. So if you are someone who's watching and listening right now and you're going, I'm still trying to figure that out, any tangible strategies on how to go about figuring out what your assignment is if you feel a little stuck or paralyzed?
Mm. I think it helps to pay attention to what draws you the most.
Mm,
When I first began my career 30 years ago as a social worker, I was working in foster care. And when I would bring children to visit their families on the weekends, I would notice my heart would break for the kids, of course, but it broke harder for the moms. I
mm,
felt so drawn to the mothers. And so I ultimately shifted my client focus from working with the children to working with women, because I felt for me, I had capacity to help heal them, and that would then benefit the children. So, where my heart was pulled, let me know where my gifts were going to be best used. And so, I encourage people, again, when we have those quiet times, checking with our bodies, seeing how our heart is directed, that we will find ourselves pulled particularly in a direction. And that's usually because we have a gift that is specific for that area.
mhm,
Yeah, I'll jump in and say, I think also in your quietest moment, I believe in your quietest moment, that is when you will hear God's pull, God's assignment, God's word on your life. But I believe that when you're thinking about your own purpose, it'll come to you. What is for you will never miss you. That's something that, my mother, my grandmother used to always say, what is for you will never miss you. So your assignment, it won't miss you. It is just the importance of slowing down and allowing for it to come to you. And I think I like to think about purpose and really being in your purpose. It's that intersection of where you and your heart are most happy
mm,
and where your skill set and your ability to act upon that, what you're being called upon, where that intersection meets. So it's that intersection that you feel good about it and you're also good at it. Because there are often things that we're very good at and we hate doing it. And we're like, I don't like doing this. I'm not fulfilled. Then that's probably not your purpose. Or it's that thing that you feel really good and it fills your heart, but you're not really good at it.
Mm.
And so I don't think that's your purpose. I think your purpose is when there's a happy medium when you're at the intersection of both of those, and that's the sweet spot. And also when you sit quiet and you really ask yourself in your heart, when you are most honest with yourself, like, does this feel like the thing that I'm supposed to wake up and do every day? And for me, when I feel like I'm in purpose and I'm moving in purpose, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, I thank you, God, for this life and this ability to be able to do this thing. It is my purpose, and my purpose is to contributing to a something greater than self. And I think that's the definition of purpose. And when you can feel that, and when you can find all those elements, that's when you're in purpose.
mm. Both of you mention the power of quieting down so that you can hear that nudge. When things are loud, what do you do? What are your personal practices to tap into that moment that let you know, A, that it's time? And then what do you do? What does that look like on a day-to-day for you?
I'm literally near water right now. So I am literally like, if you can see what I see the entire ocean in front of me. And for me, and particularly this last year and a half, I've been very open and public. I lost my mother in December of 2024, and a lot of people weren't aware that most of the election cycle, where I was very active around the election cycle in 2024, the presidential, my mother was in a coma and spent 2 months in a coma. And I mostly spent that entire election season in the medical ICU by her side. She ultimately passed away in December. And it had such a profound impact on me. Grief turned me and twisted me in ways that I still can't even describe the shapes that it put me in. And what I realized is that I needed to step back. I needed to go to spaces where I just sat still, where I could just feel, where I could cry. That I also had to, for me, come to the realization that I can still care and be away. I don't have to consume and be present in the movement. Stepping away isn't abandoning the movement, it's taking care of myself so I can actually be of use to the movement when I come back. Because I'm a strong believer that you can't carry anybody's water in a broken vessel. And for so long, after my mother's passing, I was a broken vessel. Still to this day, sometimes I'm not the whole vessel that I used to be before my mother left this earth. And recognizing that I need to go take care of myself. I need to make sure that the cracks that I know I have are filled before I try to go and carry water for others. Because ultimately, I'm a disservice to myself and I'm a disservice to my community if I don't take care of myself otherwise.
Mhm. I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
so
thank
sorry for
you
that.
for sharing
Thank
that and the ways that it has affected you. I do want to welcome Tony. It is good to see you here. And we
Hey,
are
Guys.
just going to
Hello.
joining right in. I'm going to ask this question of Dr. Anita, and then you'll be up. And you're right on time, actually, because we're talking about when things are loud and we have a lot going on, how do we stop and take a break? And what does that look like for us, that spiritual practice of quieting down so that we can really hear what God is trying to tell us in those moments? And so I was just going around asking everyone to chime in on what that looks like for them day to day. What does that look like for you, Dr. Anita?
Well, I have the privilege of having a lot of alone time because I live alone, and so I was definitely going to talk about what it might be like for those who are maybe raising young children and things like that. But Tony's here, so I'm going to let her have that.
Yes.
Uh, for me, writing helps me a lot. So I love to do a practice called morning pages. When I wake
Mm,
up in the morning, it's a free write brain dump, no organization, no anything, just let everything fall out on the page, and it kind of clears the internal noise. Sometimes things come out on that page that I wasn't even consciously thinking about,
mm,
but were right below the surface. And so for me, quieting that internal noise,
mm,
writing out everything that comes out of the pen, it gets me into a place even before I pray,
mm,
because a lot of times we use prayer to try and go past the internal noise instead of moving it. And so by allowing myself to just pour out that brain dump, it actually leads me on where I might want to talk to God this morning and about what, and to put that before him. And so for me, that is a regular pour out practice that helps the noise not take over in the first place. So I don't want us to always wait until we're crazy and then it's like, okay,
mm,
now how do I get quiet? Now how do I get still?
mhm,
But let's do those practices. And sometimes just taking a longer walk than usual,
mm.
sitting quietly before I turn on the TV. Anytime that I can expand some silence, I want to take the chance to do that. But that morning page is writing, pour out is critical to my practice and keeping stillness available to me.
I love that. And is the morning pages journal, do you keep it right by on the nightstand?
I do actually
Okay.
use a yellow legal pad, like a
Okay.
yellow pad. I do it for 20 minutes and then stop. So
Okay.
it doesn't become this thing that just never ends. If I'm in the middle of a sentence at the end of the 20 minutes, I just stop. It's
Hmm.
truly just a brain dump. It's not something to read later. It's just to clear things. And I encourage people, if you're trying it, even if you don't feel like you have anything to say, you can just write, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. But suddenly something will come. Man, I forgot to do X yesterday. Anything like that. It will actually get us to what's usually happening at the core that might be clogging our hearts and minds.
I love that. So we're going to set our timer for 20 minutes. And a legal
Yep.
pad means there's no barrier to entry. Like
There's nothing.
we all got extra notebooks
Yep,
laying
yep,
around,
exactly.
those
20
pretty
minutes.
journals that we've been collecting. So I
Yes,
appreciate that. Really
do it that way.
tangible.
And quick, when I was younger and I had young kids at home, I used to keep that legal pad by the toilet. So when
Because
I got up and went to the bathroom in the morning and closed the door, I'd sit on the toilet and get my 20 minutes in and then come out. I know that didn't sound very ladylike, but it is what it is. That's where
we're
we're
keeping it
alone a lot,
real.
right? And
Yeah.
so I would keep it there. I had one of those laptop like pat table things you could put on your lap, and I would sit it on my lap and I'd write it, and that's where I kept it so that I didn't miss it.
I love that. Making it happen in the season
Make
that
it
we're
happen.
in with the tools we already have. Tony,
Hmm.
Tony, you do still have littles. We'd love to hear you
Oh,
jump in
yes,
on
I
this.
do. This is okay. First of all, I do want to highlight that Dr. Anita said something that is super important, and it's the idea that we have to live a life on the offense, not the defense. So most of us, especially me, like I wait for a fire to come so that me and Jesus can go put it out. But the truth is, like, if we're having these practices in our life day to day, then really we've got something in the reserve to help
Hmm.
us when crazy fires, chaos comes. Okay, so this is interesting. I started this new practice where I am reading a psalm a day out loud.
Hmm.
And it's a lot, but it has quieted my spirit in ways that connect me to Jesus like the psalmist did. Like just that like perfect balance of grief and gratitude and joy and pain and hope and hurt. So it's been super sweet. I'm on day 55 and every single morning I peel my little self out of bed, I sit down and I read a psalm out loud. Now, last week, okay, we're gonna talk about kids. My son turned 4, and I said, you know what? It's actually far past time for me to let this whippersnapper be in a regular sized bed, okay?
Mm.
But he escapes, and so I didn't want to get him out of that crib, okay? So I finally transitioned him to a regular little toddler bed, and every day, every morning at midnight, he comes into my bed and sleeps with me. I live alone, like Dr. Anita, and it has jacked up my quiet time. So I thought, until I just kept trying to do my quiet time with my son in the room. He's 4 years old. I would just slip out of bed, go to my quiet corner. And on the third day of him so distracting me, I was drawing Paw Patrol one day when I should have been reading the Psalm. It was crazy. One day, the third day, he came over to my quiet corner and he lays down like I do. And he said, just started saying, Jesus, Jesus,
Oh, wow.
Jesus. He don't know what to say. He doesn't know what's going
Oh,
on.
wow.
And I think like the Lord just reminded me that there is no Holy Spirit Junior, that the same spirit that's on the inside of me praying to the Lord is the same that's on the inside of our babies, that they are actually also uniquely made in the image of God. And quiet time may not look quiet, but it's peaceful. It's shalom. It's
Mhm.
full of just this like reminder that God is working through our kids too. And so I've really had to reframe my mind literally in the past week with including my 4-year-old baby
Mhm.
in on this quiet time and treating it as such. Like, Dr. Didi, you probably can speak more into this, but like my brain was telling me that this is not quiet time anymore because my
Right.
kid's here. But like reframing my brain of like, no, this is just a different quiet time. And honestly, I think it may be more holy.
Mm.
You
I
know?
love that.
So, yeah,
Yes, Romans
we're doing the
15
best we can.
13.
Yeah.
You just made me think of Romans 15 13, Tony, right? That may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace. A lot of times when we talk about protecting our peace, we can get off of the fact that the Prince of Peace
Mm.
resides within us. And so protecting
Mhm.
peace is not always about shutting people out, being alone, being all these things, but that the God of hope can fill me with all joy and peace. And I protect it by not letting that escape my
Mm.
consciousness, my presence. I guard my heart by not letting things out that I want to hold. Does that make sense? Because when we talk about guarding our heart, we often think of guarding against the world. But that word in scripture, guard your heart, is actually a reference to like a prison guard.
Mm.
Prison guards are not trying to keep people out as much as they're trying to keep what's inside from escaping. And so we have to stop thinking, guard my heart, guard my peace, like I got to block all of you out here. No, what God has planted in me, I'm guarding that that does not escape when the world threatens me. But
Mm.
I have to get that from the God of hope. He fills me with
Mhm.
joy and peace and the power by the Holy Spirit. So,
That's
yes,
so powerful.
yes.
And
Mhm.
what you were saying just resonated. And I
Mhm.
think about my dear friend Jovian. And
Mm,
Jovian and I were talking one day, and I was having just a really rough day dealing with grief. And she said, I want you to think about joy moments. And this is her terminology. And I started going through life. And she said, maybe it's that green light when you're rushing. And instead of the light being red, it's green. Or maybe
yeah.
it's the sun just hits your face just the right way and you feel the warmth of the sun. Or maybe you see a beautiful piece of artwork. But to mentally say to yourself or out loud, thank you for this joy moment. Thank you for this joy moment. And if you go through your day, even when you're feeling not your best self, you're still, God is going to give you so many joy moments. And so it's just calling it out loud and saying it. And so as you were talking, Dr. Anita, you're so right in terms of protecting that thing. I believe God sends us and gives us the opportunity to have these joy moments. It's our ability to recognize it, to call it out loud, and to be grateful for it. And
Hmm.
that's really important, particularly in this day and age when so many of us feel so much like the world may be against us. Having our own joy moments and being able to give joy moments, but also receiving joy moments and knowing that when we receive them, that we are deserving of them.
Mm,
Oh,
mm,
That's
yes,
really
mm,
important as well.
mm.
yes.
There's I've taken so many notes and I've wanted to go in a bunch of different directions, but I will say when you just said receiving, I feel like all of us kind of had a moment. And I know that, especially during times like this, things are heavy, people may be carrying a lot. Stopping and allowing the good in, right? Like allowing ourselves to have those moments, feeling like we deserve it, feeling
Mhm.
like we deserve a break, feeling like we deserve joy, even fun amid so many things that are happening around us. What do you say to someone who is perhaps struggling to disconnect? Maybe they do need to take that pause, but they're struggling to do it because who am I to take a break when people are suffering? You know, maybe they're
Mm.
struggling to take a pause because they see how hard things are for so many people. Maybe it's causing them to have more of a scarcity mindset. We see so many people being laid off. How dare I take a break from work right now? What do you tell someone who's maybe having those types of thoughts about what they deserve and about giving in to the idea that they should receive the joy?
Mm. I
Mm.
think I like to say when it comes to joy, I'm a wallower. I
Hmm.
wallow in joy. I'm
Hmm.
gonna soak it up. I'm not gonna leave any meat on that bone. I'm gonna
I
take
love
all of it
that.
in. And the reason for that is, again, I got back to this biology because we spend so much time up here. But my body is literally designed to restore itself when has a sense of peace, of
Hmm.
joy, of love. And that is the time to feed my nervous system so that when I'm under pressure, when I'm under stress, I have the strength that I need to endure those seasons. And so when we avoid joy, when we avoid rest, which is a form of joy, we are actually starving ourselves of our capacity to handle the difficult moments.
Hmm.
So when God brings those joy moments, He's literally saying, eat. And it's like we'll refuse to eat, but then go run a marathon. So we must have that balance because we're not eating enough to actually run the race and endure the race. And a lot of times it's because we're stuck in fight or flight because we don't believe that there's enough or that there's time. Honey, there will always be something.
Hmm.
But our bodies were literally designed to dine on joy and
Hmm.
on rest and on peace. And those are, for my Christian sisters, those are feelings. I think we've done so much to strip emotion out of our spiritual walk because the culture tells us that it weakens us. But if the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, those are things we feel. They are not just things we chase or wait for. Those are things we feel. So I want to live in the kingdom of God with the fruit of the Spirit. And the Bible says the kingdom is within you. So that is where that joy and that love and that peace starts. So when you are rejecting that, not only is it not good for your biology or your everyday life or your relationships, but you're actually distancing yourself from what God is offering us through relationship with his son, which
Hmm.
is to feel better about some things. Doesn't mean we'll be happy every day, but we can do a little more than some of us are doing. And if that is escaping you entirely, I'm going to encourage you to find a therapist
Hmm.
because it is possible that you may be struggling with depression. Your body may have reached the level from regular anxiety to an anxiety disorder. And it
Hmm.
is okay for you to get help with that. And so if you haven't touched joy, love, or peace in 8 or more weeks, I need you to maybe make an appointment to see someone
Hmm.
so that we can help get you back home to yourself and to what God has for you to walk in.
As an innocent bystander, I just want to affirm counseling. Okay. Get
Yes.
Please.
yourself a therapist. Do it from any age, any demographic, wherever you are. Just
Yes.
please go. Okay, in the spirit of Psalms, I've been reading the book of Psalms every single day, 55 days. Psalm 16, verse 11 says, "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence, there is fullness of joy.
Hmm.
At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." And for me, what that has like deeply meant for me, I mean, if you know anything about my story, I've been divorced, married and divorced twice. single mama, 2 baby daddies. I still am shocked that I have 2 baby daddies out here. I am in full-time ministry, just doing all sorts of things, podcasting, writing books. And there are so many days where I am just like, Lord, you could have made this a little easier. Like, I am serving your kingdom. I'm doing the best that I can to provide for 2 babies. I'm balancing so many things. My life sometimes, honestly, if like in my hardest days, just feels like I don't deserve this. Like, I am a good person. I am going to church and I tithe and stuff. Come on. And then I just remember that God didn't promise me a life of perfection. What he promised me was that he would be with me in the imperfection. And that, for some reason, his presence is genuinely where I'm finding the fullness of joy. Not in the things that we think we deserve, a big platform, the comments and likes and books and not in that stuff. Trust me. And I know Dr. Anita and Jateka can say the same thing. Like, it's a privilege to be able to steward these things, but it is not where we find joy. And if we make those places our joy source, it's going to get weird for a little while. If we even make an easy life our place or source of joy, it's just not going to work. But if we can look divorce and anxiety and depression, if we can look betrayal and pain in the eye and say, you do not get to have my joy because you don't give it to me. The presence of the Lord does. Like, I think we'll be all right. And I'm all right. Okay. I'm still smiling. I'm still going. I'm still coloring. I'm still doing the things. And it's genuinely because I've just found so much peace and joy in the presence of God.
Tony, both of you struck a chord with me with this notion, because when my mom died in December 2024, and it was after all of the historic Zooms and all of these things, right after that, I believe I received almost every award possible. Every award, I believe I was featured in every magazine, every newspaper possible. None of it brought me any joy. I was grateful, and I'm still forever grateful and appreciative, but it wasn't the thing that brought me the most joy. What brought me joy was, again, those joy moments of just seeing my family or being with my friends, or hearing a song that gave me a sense of peace. That's where my joy came from. And I think in this social media world, everybody is always posting highlight reels. And I think for anybody that's watching, I can't necessarily speak for Dr. Anita or Tony, but what I can say is that probably all of us have had some struggle or something that we have dealt with. And I know I have certainly over the last year.
Yes, indeed.
Tony has said, I've said, God, why me? I don't understand. I pray, I live right. I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't do these things. So why would you take my mom? Why would you bring betrayal into my life? Why do I have all these headwinds? And a friend of mine and I were talking, and the Spirit came on me, and it said, you know what? Sometimes God will put you through a fire to show you that He, as long as He is surrounding you, you are fireproof. And sometimes we're meant to go through that fire, or sometimes your path is harder because God made you stronger. And he needs for you to deal with that, and when you deal with that, He knows that you are going to get closer to Him. And I had to reconcile that perhaps, just perhaps, I am in this fire, I am feeling this way because God is showing me that with Him I can get through it. And at the end of that, I'm going to have a closer relationship with you, God. I'm going to trust you more, God, and I'm going to understand, and I'm also going to accept that you are God. And that all things, before I even came to this earth, you knew you were going to take my mother from me on December 4th, 2024. You knew that was going to happen. You knew all the things that were going to happen. You knew all the accolades. You knew all of those things, but you also knew that you were going to carry me. And you also knew that I would be sitting with you on July 16th. And that I could look at the glorious creation that you created, this ocean, and still find a way to smile.
You know, I recently had a a conversation that brought so many thoughts, but I recently had a conversation on a podcast where the host asked me a question. He said, "Why does death, divorce, and adultery, those three things, seem to be the things that crack us the most spiritually, that leave us questioning faith, God, all of the things?" And my response was, first of all, those three issues are so endemic to who we are as humans: relationship, connection, all of them. And that all humans are confused by those experiences. But when we're Christians, we take that confusion often to God. And how we conceptualize pain is everything. And so I think we all are often left asking questions. And I survived a divorce in 2023 after 27 years, never expected to live the life that I'm living now. And also, I adore the life that I'm living now. But it does leave us asking questions about the will of God and what does suffering mean and who did it. And everyone has to find their answers. But I always point people also to 1 John chapter 3, which says that there is pain in this world because of sin, because of the fall, and because of people who sin. But for this purpose was the Son of God manifested to destroy the works of the devil. And so many of us are going to experience the works of evil in our lives. And I want us to be always sure that we do not attribute the works of the devil to God's work. Sometimes God does allow difficult things to happen to us, and sometimes it is just the devil. And he wants to disguise himself as an angel of light and make me say that God did this. But God doesn't sexually abuse children, and God doesn't shoot down teenagers in the street so he can have a basketball player on his team in heaven. But we will experience pain. And when it comes to death, especially, we were not created to die. Humanity was created to live forever. And so the fall brought death into our world. It will never feel right. It's not natural to us. And I think that's so critical because it will never feel right. And grief is one of our greatest weights. But that's why someone can die at 110 and that family is still brokenhearted. Like it still almost takes them out because we were not built for it. And so it will always feel awful. It is the enduring legacy of the fall. But thank you, Jesus. The Son of God was manifested to destroy the works of the enemy. And I do believe God will force good out of everything, but he didn't do everything. And so for my trauma survivors listening, I want to make sure that you hear me say, it happened, but that doesn't mean God did it, but he will force good out of it. But if you ever want to get mad at somebody about it, get mad at the devil. Because he started this whole thing, but we win.
We win.
Yeah.
We win. That is so powerful. So powerful. Ladies, I want to ask each of you before we close, and do I wish we had much more time today.
Yeah.
If every woman, every young girl watching this tonight, if they could just leave with one truth, one thing that might help them stand a little bit taller, what would you want to leave them with? What would you want that truth to be?
Okay, so I hate to just piggyback on what Dr. Anita said, but I get this beautiful privilege to go to a women's shelter here in Atlanta every month and teach like a class on, biblical teaching, but also meets healing. And these women have gone through some of the most horrific things, and we don't want to fall into the pain comparison trap, like her story is worse than mine, so I shouldn't be open about mine type thing. And at the same time, I say less buts, more ands. And they've gone through some very difficult things. And the biggest question that I see these women who are holding immense pain ask is, why do bad things happen to good people? And I just want to reiterate what Dr. Anita just said, because it is the very thing that I think we have to run to when we're in just such deep pain, when we're doing our best to fight for joy. It is to remember who God is. And just these past couple of years, as I've been going through a public divorce, my second one, there's been so much grief. There's just been so much loss. I'm like, why am I losing everything? And I didn't do anything wrong, right? And I've really challenged the Lord in just like telling me, like, what are you doing with all this grief? Like, are you holding it? Are you like gonna heal it? Like, what are you doing? What's coming of it? Is there purpose? What is it? And I was in the shelter and I read John chapter 11. And honestly, I think it was more for me than the girls. But this reminder that in the face of like real loss, this is Mary and Martha, they lose their brother Lazarus. He is not alive anymore. Not just for one day, he's been dead for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, which means in that context, there was no hope for him to come back to life, right? There was this like superstitious belief that like maybe on the 3rd day he'll raise, but then the prophecies got a little confused, okay? And so on the 4th day, Jesus comes up on the scene and he is moved to great compassion in their grief. And he's moved so much that he's like asking, okay, where did you lay Lazarus? He's going to go raise this man from the dead. He asked them where they laid him. But before he moved, he cried. And what a beautiful reminder to all of us that there is this majestic God in heaven who built like the earth and the moon, the stars and all the planets and animals that we don't even know. Little zebras walking around. We don't even know all the animals that he created because they're so vast and there's so many. Is also the God who would be like, before we get to the miracle, let's just sit in the mess. And ladies, like I don't know, for me at least, maybe this is for me too. Like I need that God. Like I need to know that he did not intend for this type of pain in my life. He did not intend for us to die. He did not intend for betrayal and abuse. That was not his intention. So much so that when it breaks our heart, it breaks his too. Like that's good news for me. And I hope that it's good news for you too. So that's what I want to leave with.
I love that.
Thank you,
I
Tony.
love that.
Jateka, one truth.
That's so powerful.
Mhm.
I'll jump in and say, it's advice that even for, I think, as Tony said, it's as much for me as it is for anybody else, is that we are enough. That we are simply enough. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to evolve or be a better version or learn, but we are enough. And there will be seasons when others will try to lead you to believe that you aren't. Or sometimes the person that's looking back at you in the mirror will lead you to question your worth or your value. But we're enough before the accolades, before the degrees, before whatever it is, that we're enough. And it's important that as we move through this world, that we shouldn't seek validation from a world that often tries to shut us out. Because that is where we find the most disappointment, where we're seeking validation from the wrong places, when really it's within. And it's our journeys with God. And it's important that I think we all recognize and understand that we should never feel that we're waiting for worthiness or we're waiting to become enough, but recognizing that we already are. I'm often reminded of the story of the bamboo tree. And the bamboo tree, I believe, is a very fascinating, it's a fascinating piece of nature. The bamboo tree, when you plant it, for the first 5 years, there's no visible movement or action. So in year 1, you can do all the things, water it, you can pour into it, nothing happens. Year 2, nothing happens. Year 3, nothing happens. Year 4, nothing happens. But year 5, in year 5, in 6 weeks alone, that African bamboo tree can grow upward to 90 feet, 90 feet. And I often think about the bamboo tree because many of us, our lives are very much like that bamboo tree. And that we think in year 1, because we don't see anything on the exterior, that we think that we're a failure or there's nothing happening in year 2. I've done all of this. I've gone to school. I've done all of this. I've done all these things. I'm waiting for this thing to happen. God, what am I doing? Year 3, year 4, other people are starting to look. There's nothing going on. They're questioning you. But then in year 5, that massive growth. But what's happening, the question is, did the bamboo tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow in 5 years and 6 weeks? And for many of us, it's the 5 years, it's the years that foundation is happening, because what's happening is the bamboo tree underneath the ground where no one can see is creating this intricate network of roots and a foundation that will allow it to withstand its massive growth that is going to happen, and any winds or anything that is going to challenge that tree. It is so strong now. And I think that as we think about our lives, just like that bamboo tree was enough in year 1 or year 2, it just didn't appear that way, or it might have didn't feel that way, but it was absolutely enough, and it was on its way to impressive, unimaginable growth and an ability to be able to sustain itself. And so I think that's the thing that I want us all to walk away with, is knowing that we are enough. We've always been enough. And in most cases, as Black women, we're more than enough.
For
Amen.
sure.
Amen.
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 Well, I will say something I heard from both ladies, which is hope. Tony actually used the word hope, and then you just told us a story about hope.
Amen.
5 years, it doesn't look like anything's happening, and then boom, have hope.
Amen.
Hope, and hope is available because it's transferable. I can have hope because God has blown me away in the past. It may have been in a totally different situation. It may have been financial, and now my pain is relational. It may have been physical illness, and now my pain is emotional, whatever. But every time that God has shown up and blown me away, I can have hope that God's going to do it again. So hope is everything. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. I got to have hope. Faith is a spiritual thing that comes, but I offer my hope. So often when I was in the hardest moments of my divorce going through, I would walk around the streets, the grocery store, and I would remind myself, I just probably passed 10 people who were on a really dark day like this. And now it's 5 years ago, it's 10 years ago. And they have a story of, oh, I remember when I was where you are. And today I have A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And as a therapist and a minister, I've sat with so many people in their darkest moment and watched it turn. And so when I'm in the dark, I reminded myself, it's just my turn in the dark, but that means I'll also have my turn in the light again. I have hope.
Amen.
I have hope, and I have hope in God, not in the outcome you want, not in how you dreamed it should be. Because when you have hope in what you wanted to see, you can lose that. But have hope in God. Darkness will turn to light again. I don't know how, but I know there will be a win. Have hope in God.
Ladies, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your important reminders that we are enough, that our hope is in God. And I want to thank you for sharing your stories, because there's just so much power in that, in watching other people and knowing that they're willing to share what they've walked through with us. So thank you for your vulnerability today, for the tangible examples of the spiritual practices that you live each day that allow you to shut out the noise when necessary so that you can quiet down and really hear from God. We really needed to hear from you. And so I just thank you for your time, and I thank you for being you.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that was an amazing panel session, and I thank you all for coming out to Grace Under Fire 2026. Good evening, ladies. My name is Lady Teresa Tucker, and I am a very proud graduate of the Distinctively Debutantes program, class of 2024. And today I am joined by some amazing young ladies from the program.
Good evening. My name is Lady Cash, and I'm a junior Miss Debutante in the Distinctively Debutante program.
Good evening. My name is Lady Cherish. I am a junior miss in the Distinctively Debutante program.
So here we are excited to be here with you today to just share a glimpse of experiences, relationships, as well as opportunities that make the Distinctively Debutante program so special. Because of the support, our community, as well as partners and donors, we are able to experience so much through this program. From mentorship, leadership opportunities, to even service projects, these are all experiences that help us grow personally. We've been able and given opportunities that will continue to impact us as we prepare for our futures. With this, we know that none of this could be possible without the people who believe in us and choose to invest in us. So to everyone who has supported us, encouraged us, and even helped us make these experiences possible, we thank you, and we truly appreciate you. With this, I just want to start off by asking you both a few questions. So, to those joining us online, what does it mean for you to be a part of this program?
For me, I would say it's helped me grow and helped with my confidence and made me a better young lady. And it's helped with my social experience and it's helped with my mental health and everything. And yeah.
Yeah, to pick off what Lady Cherish said, it's definitely helped me grow in confidence in loving myself and through Christ also. So it's helped me grow a stronger relationship with the Lord and with the girls around me, socially, mentally, and emotionally.
Wow, thank you, ladies. I also just appreciate your open and honesty with that. And I just want to ask also with that, what were some of your favorite sessions and how did you see yourself grow?
Ooh, that's a great question. My favorite session is the mental health session because I love that they want to connect and they want us to know that we have a safe space and we have people to go to, that know that we're struggling. And even if we're not, I feel like it's a safe space.
I would say my favorite session is probably when we all talked about like business and our careers and like they helped us like build up a resume and like what and helped us like see like what a resume like would look like and everything. And I think it would help help us grow as we go into college and as we go into as we get our jobs and everything. I think it would just make us better in life.
Yes, that is beautiful. If you don't know a businesswoman, here she is. So with this, I just want to ask, as you all know, there is a program here with it being distinctively her. What and how have you seen it focus on leadership, service, and even just your confidence overall?
Let me see. I feel like I've just grown and flourished when it comes to I don't know, I feel like I've been nurtured and I've been pushed to break myself out of this shell of you can be confident. You are that girl. You don't need to dumb yourself down and make yourself and make other people make you feel insecure or anything. You are that girl. Love yourself and you have a safe space to go to.
Yeah. What Lady Cash said, it's helped me not be the person. It helps me be the person that I want to be and not the person other people expect me to be. And then and it also just helps me learn to listen to others and not just go off what I think and what I think other people would like best, and to actually ask questions and to help other people and try to understand what their mind and what they're going through and everything. And yeah.
Awesome. With that, can you share a moment of when the program was able to help you feel encouraged and supported, and even just explain why someone should join the debutante program?
You go ahead.
I would say it's the debutante program, it helps you to help get support. Whenever you get support from the debutantes or your mentors or just anybody from the debutante program, they definitely know how to help. They definitely know that whatever you're going through, they can't just solve it by themselves, but they know how to try to help you get help or just try to help you learn to cope and how to bring yourself up and not a way where you can be yourself without trying to be somebody else. Yeah.
Yes, I'm following.
Yeah, so to pick up what she said, I feel like you can be yourself, like she said. You don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to put on this, facade, I'm this. No. But I feel it's definitely a safe space. You can be yourself. You're free. You can go to them about anything. It's not something to be ashamed about. If you can't go to your mom or your aunt or anybody, I feel like you can go to the mentors. You can go to your debutante sisters or anybody.
Yeah, they help you a lot with that. They help you be yourself and just be happy with who you are.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow, I love to hear that from these young, beautiful minds. With that, you can't find this at any other program, as this one has a heart and soul that has been tilled in a soil of 30 years, and if not more, just a beautiful history that this program holds. With this, for someone watching online today who believes that this program means and wants to invest in the next generation, being you and those to come, what would you want them to know about the impact of the Distinctively Debutante program?
I would definitely want them to know that it's a place where you can be free, you can be yourself, you can love yourself, you can build confidence, and you can learn etiquette, you can learn how to dress the right way, not to show up to events looking, like sideways. I feel like it definitely builds character and it helps you feel loved and you feel amazing while building friendships with mentors, coordinators, and your debutante sisters.
Yeah, it definitely helps you build character. It helps you make friends. It helps build your confidence. It helps you know that you're not alone in the world. You have other people to pick up on, that if you don't want to talk to somebody like your mom or your aunt or your grandma or somebody like that, you can talk to somebody else. You can talk to your friends. You can talk to your mentors. You can talk to people you know and trust, because the people there, they are very trustworthy and they help you get through your problems without judging you or like interrupting you and saying you shouldn't feel this, you shouldn't feel that. They help you just know that you're okay. And yeah.
I appreciate that, Lady Cherish. When young ladies are given opportunities, mentorship, and support, this is what we are able to see as they are equipped with a level of leadership and confidence to serve their communities and to go out and impact wherever they may go.
If you would like to learn more about the Distinctively Debutante program or support what we do to invest in the young women, please visit distinctivelyher.org. Your support helps provide meaningful experiences, mentorship, and college scholarships and opportunities that shape the lives of young women all around the globe. Thank you for believing in us and helping build the next generation.
Now, we are so excited to introduce our next session, with this conversation particularly being something special as it features the visionary behind so much of what makes this experience here. A woman who made it possible, one who moves in leadership, faith, grace, and has a heart that is open to serving others and has impacted countless lives, being Mrs. Serita Jakes. And joining Mrs. Jakes, we have the wonderful fireside chat, the Pastor Serita Jakes Roberts. With this, I just want to state that we can see that redefining what it means to be a modern woman of faith doesn't always have to look like what we make it be, but rather we can defy cultural norms, gender norms, as well as socioeconomic boundaries. We have been able to see that through her best-selling books and viral messages that it's only can take a few minutes to connect with her and connect with others to understand why she can become one's favorite. We can see that Pastor Sarah has a unique way of reaching people who are seeking to make peace with their past, maximize their present, and even deepen their relationship with God. As Pastor Sarah serves as a co-senior pastor here at the Potter's House of Dallas, we see that she serves and moves alongside her husband, Pastor Torrey Roberts. With her down-to-earth personality and contemporary style, we can see why there's no question as to how she is an emerging leader in this generation. As a New York Times bestselling author and a Time 100 Next honoree, Pastor Sarah's journey stands as a testament to transition and resilience. At 23 years old, she faced insecurities, teen pregnancy stigma, low self-esteem, toxic relationships, and even depression. It wasn't until her darkest moment that she realized she had two options: settle or evolve. She dared to harness the wisdom of her past wounds and apply them to the hope for her future. And we can see that Sarah then laid the foundation for Woman Evolve. What started from a personal vlog and just open vulnerability, seen through processed pain, a shared story, then grew to a powerful community where women saw themselves and their words. That connection then sparked a podcast, a movement, and even a global platform that's empowering women to be. With this, we see that there's even a mantra that she uses: being bruised heels still crush the serpent's head. Sarah continues to remind us of that, even how broken places can still carry divine power. So today we see that Pastor Serita Jakes Roberts stands as a powerhouse wife, mother, businesswoman, and spiritual leader. as her passion is to utilize her experiences, insight, and influence to help every soul she encounters evolve to the best version of themselves. With this, we can see that Mrs. Jakes and Pastor Sarah will be creating a space for honesty, vulnerability, and wisdom as they share their experiences navigating through pressure, decision fatigue, public perception, and the moments when leadership can feel overwhelming or isolating. Seen in this conversation, we will dive into with when leadership feels lonely. So we encourage you today, guys, to lean in, take notes, and receive anything and everything while sharing this beautiful and incredible conversation. So please join us in welcoming Miss Serita Jakes and Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts.
So, before we get started, I want to thank you for being a part. I'm very excited about an opportunity to have this conversation with you. Maybe not so much as mommy-daughter, but probably because of mommy-daughter, we're going to be able to talk about what it's like to have leadership under fire.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I haven't had an opportunity to unpack what leadership under fire looks like for me, especially coming out of my most recent fire. And so I'm looking forward to learning more about your experiences and kind of pinpointing what I've gleaned from this season. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So talk to me, you talked a little bit just then about just coming out of a fiery furnace situation. Did you feel alone?
I felt surrounded and alone at the same time. I had so many people who came around me to support me, family and friends who made sure that I didn't feel alone. But then there are certain moments that you are alone, no matter how many people surround you, no matter how many people are there for you, there are some things that only you can carry. So in those moments of loneliness, I think I began questioning maybe my capacity, while also recognizing that I didn't have any choice but to move forward.
So you're a mama.
Yes.
You're a wife. You're an entrepreneur. You're a pastor. Everybody always leaves out, you're a daughter.
I am.
So which one of those roles do you feel make you feel the most isolated?
Ooh. Probably I feel the most isolated in my role as, it's hard. That's a hard question. I want to say as a pastor. I think that makes me feel the most isolated because it is the lane in which I don't have as much representation for the way that I minister. And I think the difficulty of answering a call that comes from God is that you're filling a space that only you can feel. And when you're filling a space that only you can feel, it means that there's no one quite like you in that space. And I think that our tendency as humans is to compare ourselves, align ourselves to other people. But when God calls you to do something unique, there's really not a comp, not a full comp. And so I am, I got a little bit of this, and I'm kind of like Dad. I got a little bit of PT, maybe a little Joyce, maybe a little Chris Kane, but then also maybe a little just homegirl appeal. You know what I mean? I don't see a lot of people in ministry like me, and where that may be like a source of pride for some people, like, ooh, there's no one else out there that can do it quite like me. I think it actually makes me feel a little bit lonely.
We always talk about the accomplishments and the platform and the glamour and the glitz. What about the heat that comes from the lights? You just described that, not having your own, being able to have your own lane and being comfortable and confident in it. So how do you build your hope and your confidence up when you're in a lane all by yourself?
You know, and that's Woman Evolve, in my opinion. At least when it first started, there wasn't a lot out there like it. I think God's doing a lot of things in different movements, and so that's not as true as it once was. But still, in a lot of ways, it is very unique because Woman Evolve began as a place where I want you to have an incredible, undeniable encounter with God. And in order for us to do that, I need you to feel safe enough to bring the fullness of who you are. And in order to do that, we have to create a space where you can laugh, where you can be honest about your past, where you can allow your walls to come down. And so it's this mix of fun and sisterhood and connection that creates a space for intimacy and vulnerability. It's not always understood, though. And I think one of the things that I'm constantly challenging myself with is not making the call that came from God become subject to the opinions of other people. Because if we aren't careful, because we live to serve people, we'll end up in a position where we have elevated them from the people we're serving to the people we're performing for. And having to reclaim that constantly is a part of my role as a leader, and reminding our team that no matter how popular, no matter how viral something is, at the end of the day, we have to keep our eyes on the mission. We have to see that one woman. So we have a motto at Woman Evolve. It's no woman left behind. And so no matter how great a room is, we're always wondering who was the woman who wasn't in the room, who was the woman who may have walked away feeling like we didn't quite cover what she needs, and how, if we are called to minister to her, do we position our next post, our next email, our next event to make sure that that woman can come into this space and feel seen and loved and ultimately reconnected to the God who began her existence in the first place. But you have to have a willingness to be understood, to be misunderstood if you're going to be in leadership. And I think that leadership is a difficult place when you're still healing and still becoming, because you can fall into the trap of seeking validation from other people. And I'm not saying that I haven't fallen into that trap myself. I'm just saying that when I've been in that trap, when I've been in that pit, when I've been drug around the internet for something that I did knowingly or unknowingly to upset people, that God reminds me that it was never about them to begin with, and that I've called you to do something that requires you to do it in front of people. And if you do it in front of people, you just got to make sure you never do it for the people. You always do it for God.
You know, this is supposed to be an interview, but it's turning into a conversation.
Yeah.
Because every time I look at you, I think about you as a little girl and you singing, I told Satan, victory is mine. Yeah. I told Satan, get your behind. So now you actually happen to tell the enemy, which is sometimes the internet, sometimes it's people, to just get behind you and don't let them hinder what you're trying to do. And you've done that so well, but still you make us feel like it's so easy for you to be so transparent. And it's as though you don't really have a veil up anymore. It's like, this is me, this is who I am, accept who I am. How hard was it for you to accept who you are and present it to the world?
Well, I mean, I spent my adolescence and early 20s thinking there was something wrong with me. And because there was something wrong with me, I felt like there was something that I needed to fix about me. And I think when I got to a space where I stopped trying to cover up the fact that there was something wrong with me and accept the fact that there was something wrong with me. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times we're trying to just cover it up. But if we can just accept that there's some brokenness in me, there's some insecurities that I'm still working through, there is something wrong with me, but there's something wrong with everyone. And the whole gospel that we preach hinges on this reality that none of us are perfect and that we've all fallen short and that we're all continuing to be made perfect through him. And so me realizing that there's something wrong and right about there being something wrong with me helped me to settle into myself. That I don't have to have all the answers, that I don't have to do everything perfectly. And sometimes it is difficult to own the fact that I've made a mistake because I would rather put on a face and make everyone think that it's easy and that I've done everything perfectly. But the reality is that I'm out here learning just like you are and making mistakes just like you are and waking up again and still stretching for righteousness anyway. But I think I had to accept that there being something wrong with me wasn't an indictment on my character, nor was it an obstacle to my calling, that it was actually the gateway that God could use to help me reach someone who felt like there was something wrong with them too. And as God has healed me and shown his love towards me and shown me his compassion for the thing that was wrong with me. It has taught me to be more compassionate and forgiving with myself. And in that environment of nurturing the wrong, I've discovered right. But I think it required me to stop resisting it.
The first Woman Evolve I attended, one of the things that really struck me, I think it may have been the last session, and the glory was so strong in the room that you were unable to speak, and you just started worshiping on your knees. And I looked around, and there were many women my age who were in that parent stage where we had come for or with our daughters.
Yeah.
And the daughters were laying in the same exact position that you were. And the mothers were standing around us. So I found out right then and there that you had your own daughters, Sarah. Sarah's daughters. If you're not stricken with amazement. And you allowed us to take off our mask and felt like we were the only one in the room. And so you helped us not feel lonely in our mess, in our degradation. That's a fancy word.
It is classy.
Let me tell you, when we finished worshiping, there was such a bond of sisterhood.
Yeah.
Mother-daughter relationships were gone. Everybody was a sister. And you were able to teach us older women how not to feel lonely in our past mistakes and to embrace leadership even when you're under fire.
Yeah.
And so I want you to tell me what it feels like to have made so many women feel liberated from their past.
I mean, I don't even think about that.
It's just what you do, and that's who you are.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me happy for them, you know what I mean? But I think maybe because I see so many other women who I want to get the revelation and to receive that love, that in many ways, whatever has happened through me at this stage feels like just a seed, that there's still more harvest. And I think that prayerfully, what happens in those environments encourages another woman to go out and grab another woman. And so I think if we do this thing called purpose and leadership right, we'll never fully know the impact, because what we deposit in another takes root, produces fruit, and then that goes on to be built in someone else's life. You said something, though, about leadership and loneliness and the beauty of sisterhood at Woman Evolve that made me realize something about leaders, especially leaders who experience loneliness, is that if you are not intentional, you will miss out on the opportunity for connection, not because it wasn't available, but because you didn't pursue it. And I think a lot of times we're lonely, but also we're postured to maintain that loneliness by the nature of our mentalities, by the nature of our schedules, by the nature of what we prioritize. But loneliness, one, I think we can't underestimate that loneliness is really dangerous.
Say more.
That loneliness is how the serpent was able to talk to the woman in the garden, is that she wasn't with someone who could remind her what God said. She wasn't with someone who she could fact check her thoughts with. And in loneliness, we experience it even with depression and anxiety or shame, that it is concentrated the more isolated it is. And when we experience connection, what was a concentrated emotion of shame, of depression, of inadequacy, we're able to talk to someone who goes, girl, that's not true. Have you ever been super tired and been like, I don't know why I'm tired. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then you talk to someone who's like, you just got off the plane. You got up in the morning. You did this. Sometimes in loneliness, we can paint a picture of who we are that isn't accurate. And we need people who are on the outside looking in who can tell us who we are in the moments where life becomes to tell us who we aren't. And so I think as leaders, creating environments where we are able to share our stories, to share our scars, to hear someone else's, even if it's not directly. Tuning into a conversation like this, there's a leader watching right now that's going to realize, I'm not crazy to not feel like I don't have it all together. I'm not crazy to be tired. I'm not crazy to question myself. That is community. Sometimes it's not always going to lunch. Sometimes it's not always available to us in the ways that are glamorized on social media. But if we can hear a testimony, if we can hear a story, if we can make the time to say that this loneliness that at first maybe is what God used to call me to himself, has now become a threat to what God's calling me to.
Oh my.
So now I have to position myself for intentional connection. And I'm really becoming more passionate about that, I think, as I see the world become increasingly more isolated, but also increasingly losing our tolerance for inconvenience. So if connection isn't convenient, then we don't experience it. But then we maintain and perpetuate the falsities that come with loneliness. And so if we can build our tolerance for being inconvenienced, for allowing other people to have capacity for us to disappoint them, then maybe the areas where leadership feels heavy and burdensome can be alleviated because we've now positioned ourselves for connection.
Interesting. When you said disappoint,
Yes.
as a leader,
Oh, yeah. Oh. What's she finna say?
it's hard. It's hard as a leader to make some of the tough decisions that we have to make.
It's gross.
And how do you deal with making those tough decisions that you know is going to really disappoint, uproot, cause friction?
I'm going to give you an actual factual leadership story that I'm actually walking through right now. So when Woman Evolve first started, we've always had them in churches, right? And so even when Dad had that moment where he passed the baton of Woman Thou Art Loose to Woman Evolve as just the next generation of what God can do through women's ministry, we were planning to have it at the Potter's House. And the Potter's House capacity, with chairs out and everything, can maybe get you about 8,000 to 10,000 people. The moment that he made that transition, we had registration. It was available for conference. Well, 12,000 people registered in 2 days, and it was a year away. So immediately we knew it's going to be too big to have at the Potter's House. So I could have done one or two things. I could have shut registration down and said that 12,000 is all that we can hold, and we're going to be praying that we can hold them, or I can find a bigger venue. So we found a bigger venue, and we kept registration open, and that year we ended up having 40,000 women at Globe Life Field. The problem is...
First conference.
Yes, the first one post that transition. The issue is that we set registration prices for a church building. So we're not buying chairs, we're not buying floors, we're not buying sound, we're not buying production,
Absolutely.
we're not buying parking lots. And so when we moved it into a stadium, all of our expenses increased exponentially.
Absolutely.
But the registration didn't cover to put the conference on. Say that to say that as a leader, though, I didn't want to raise the prices because I felt like it was accessible, and I didn't want people to feel like they had been priced out of coming to something that they felt like God was supposed to have them at. And so year after year, I refused to raise the prices to a point where it would actually cover conference. There's always been a gap. And I'm like, God will take care of the gap. God will take care of the gap. And God has taken care of the gap.
Amen.
But most recently, I have realized that if I continue that cycle, that we're not going to be able to have conference at all. Because God covering the gap sometimes came through sponsorships, sometimes it came from next year's registration, and that rinse and repeat and robbing Peter to pay Paul was putting us in a position where we wouldn't be able to have conference at all. And so I raised the prices, not because I don't have the heart to make sure that everyone's in the room, but because if Woman Evolve is going to continue to stay in the earth, if I believe that this is something that God has breathed on, then I have to think about the woman who could be left behind and the stability of the organization at the same time. And so I have been charged with the task of how do we make sure we've got enough room in registration for there to be sponsorships for people who can't afford to be in the room, where we can do giveaways while also making sure that we're positioned to do this for the long haul. And I know that's a little bit of a long story, but once again, I didn't want to disappoint people by changing the price. I didn't want them to think that we changed, that we got bigger and we forgot about them, that we got bigger and then started only counting the money. And I was so protective over trying to protect what people thought about us and our organization that I wasn't being a good leader to the organization. And that's, again, making sure that I am serving what God's called me to do and not serving the opinions of other people. And so I'm still in this tension of, God, I want to make sure that I'm honoring you, and I also want to make sure that I'm being a good steward of what you have given me. So give me strategies on how to do both. And I think that had I continued in the path that I was, that I would not have been able to do it at all. Not at the level that we've been able to do it, and not with the environment that we've been able to create. And so I have to be willing to disappoint. Not everyone will be able to get into the room, but then we create other rooms for them. We create other ways to make sure that we've got something for everyone in a way that allows us to still be responsible and a good steward of the vision.
That's amazing, because when I think about moving forward from Woman Thou Art Loose to Woman Evolve, the legacy piece of that, now you've got Girl Evolve.
Yeah.
So you're reaching back for me, and then you're reaching forward to your daughters. Tell me about what you think that legacy looks like for you. The birthing of Girl Evolve. Why was that important?
The more that I started doing Woman Evolve and talking to women about, like, when did your relationship with God fall apart? Or when did you experience your first fracture in your self-concepts and your self-esteems? And, like, what changed your mind? What was the disconnect for you? A lot of it started in adolescence. It was like I was 12, I was 10, I was 14 years old when this happened to me. And having my own story of when my distance was created, I started Girl Evolve to see if we could intercept sooner. And so that they weren't nursing things for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
60, 70.
60, 70 years that God could fix in an instant. And, the scripture talks about the wheat and the tare growing at the same time. And if the insecurity gets a head start on us, if the sin gets a head start on us, and we wait until they're 20 or 30, then it can't grow at the same time because we planted too late. And so for me, Girl Evolve, as much as I wanted to be where they come in there, we uproot everything the enemy has planted in 3 days, and they go down the road and they never have an issue again. I know that life doesn't always work that way. For some people, there's instant deliverance, and that happens in those rooms sometimes. But I'm like, if we could at least begin to cultivate the soil of their heart, if we could at least begin to plant a different type of seed,
Yes.
no matter what the enemy may have planted generationally in their childhood, in their adolescence, at least we're putting a seed of who God is into their minds. And this is the loving God. He's not the judgmental God. He's not trying to condemn you. He's trying to convict you towards excellence, convict you towards righteousness. If we can get those seeds in there, that he already knew who you were, that he cried when you cried, that he hurt when you hurt, if we can get that seed in there at an early age, I believe that God will continue to add increase. And so Girl Evolve for me was about intervention at earlier stages in life than just adulthood.
I think that Girl Evolve, your heart for Girl Evolve, is very much aligned with what we do through Distinctively Her and Distinctively Debutante. So how do you talk to me and to Ella?
Curiosity. I think there's a curiosity that I bring into conversations where I don't assume I know what it's like to be you, where I don't assume what it's like, where I don't assume I know what you need. So, you know, I'm a preacher or whatever. So when Adam and Eve eat from the fruit, God doesn't come down in the cool of the garden saying, now why would you eat from that fruit and what was wrong with you? He asks, where are you? Adam, there's a curiosity that I think creates introspection and allows for an invitation. And so I think that when we are leading different generations especially, that we can be sure about the vision, but curious about the method that will allow that vision to be manifested. And I think that as we see cultures begin to evolve and priorities within different industries begin to take on different shapes, that we have to be willing to have a curiosity when we hire people. What are your skill sets? What are you good at? What aren't you good at? We have to have curiosity because sometimes we can be so vision focused that we miss out on being people gracious. And if we're going to lead people well, and I like to lead people in such a way that even if you do not work within the construct of the vision God has given me, that I can honor you and help to pave a way for something that is more aligned with your skill set. And that requires a graciousness with people and to never see them as tools to the vision, but rather servants of it, and to see yourself as a servant of it. And so we're co-laborers. And I may be in a position where I have more insight about the vision and the landscape that the vision must exist, but that doesn't take away that I've got people who are much better at graphic design, much better at finance, much better than accounting. And I don't assume just because I'm in a leadership position that I know everything about what it takes to run the organization. You don't want me running production. You don't want me editing the podcast. You don't want me setting up the websites or doing the SEOs. That's not the field that I'm in. And so I honor the skill set that my team possesses, and I defer to them about what it takes for us to execute the vision, and I do that through curiosity.
I love it. So, since you're talking to little girls that are trapped in women's bodies, and women who are emerging in little girls' bodies, what will you say to them despite all of the criticism in the world and this season of unrest? I'm going to call it a season because seasons pass. And I feel like we've had so much turbulence over the summer with youth committing suicide and being killed that moms and daughters need to have a very good conversation, whether it's a spiritual mom. My generation needs to be having a conversation with yours. Yours needs to be having a conversation with the youngers. Would you talk to us as we close about how to do it lonely, to do it afraid, to do it criticized, to do it wounded?
Yeah. I've been doing this study through the book of Genesis, and I'm looking at what I see in Scripture and what I know about the parallels of where we currently live. And I think about when God said that he was going to send the flood because of the condition of the world grieved his heart. And that grief that God experienced when looking at the condition of the world, I think is what we're all experiencing when we look at the condition of the world. I say that to say that we share in God's grief for the suicidal thoughts, for the depression, for the anxiety, that we're not living in the world that God wanted for us either. But God is so good and so kind that he says, even though you're living in this fallen world, I'll be in it with you.
Thank you, Lord.
And I think that's important because a lot of times it's difficult to separate where's God in the midst of it all?
Amen.
And if we're asking the question, where is God in the midst of it all, it's because we're seeing so many things that don't look like him outside of us. And so I think to then ask ourselves the question, where is God in the midst of it all in me? Not looking for God outside.
I love it.
But how do I create space for God inside? Where I can be like God and see that the world is in a fallen state, but also be like God and see people like Noah who was just and righteous. Where I can be like God and see that it is a fallen state, but also there's an opportunity for a new beginning to happen here. So when we're looking at our children and we're looking at our jobs and we're looking at our lives and we see brokenness and we see unrest and we see what's happening in the world, it's okay to grieve and believe.
Grieve and believe.
It's okay to say, this hurts, this is hard. And this is exactly why God said, don't eat from that fruit. And also, God is in here somewhere. So first, let me still him within myself. Where I know that God is in it because I am intentionally having encounters myself. Because I feel his presence even in the midst of distraction. And if I can allow myself to truly become the dwelling place of the Lord, then I know that God's in it because God's in me. And if the God in me is seeing this world properly, then I'm looking at people as opportunities to extend the God in me towards them. So what does it look like for me to love that child? What does it look like for me to not see their depression as an indictment on my parenting, where I've made it about me and miss that they could be going through something that doesn't have anything to do with me? Or they could be going through something that they can't even communicate to me. I want to see this world the way that God sees it, not the way that the headlines say, or the comment section says. And for God to see it, it doesn't deny that it's broken. When God sees it, he also sees an opportunity for hope and redemption.
I love that. Even as a child.
Yeah, especially.
How do we teach them to see that God is in them when they go back to school, while they're in their classes, while they're at college, I mean, making certain that there's a reminder that God is in you and he's your hope.
I think we have to keep it in front of them.
Amen.
Sometimes we teach our kids to take God for granted by not acknowledging the things that he makes happen for us. So, it'll be little things like, Lord, I hope there's a parking spot up close when we get to the grocery store. And, maybe it's a silent prayer. You know what I mean? Lord, I hope we make it on time. Lord, I hope I pass that test. Like, our children and we are praying these prayers to God all the time. And God answers them, and we hardly acknowledge it. You know what I mean? But to be like, God, you really answered that prayer.
Yes.
God, you really helped me get into that school. Mm-hmm. God, you really helped me rest tonight. It's so elementary and maybe even a little bit churchy. But if you do want to wake up in the morning and God woke you up in the morning, we better acknowledge that. God, you answered my prayer. I'm not ready to go. I still got things I want to do and things I want to build, and you woke me up this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we can begin to thank God in everything instead of taking for granted the little things, I think it teaches our children to acknowledge Him in all of our ways, and then we get to trust Him because we're constantly acknowledging Him. And I think we've missed out on the beauty of acknowledgement. And acknowledgement goes a long way.
Acknowledgement.
Yeah.
What a phrase.
Yeah. I've got one of our children struggles with anxiety, and it'll be little things like, I'm afraid that we may get in a car accident. I'm afraid that I won't wake up in the morning. I'm afraid this, I'm afraid that. And in those moments where whatever they're afraid of doesn't happen, we don't just skip past that.
Thank you.
We don't just skip past that. Because remember, fear was telling you something, but God did something different.
I love it.
And I try to keep that in front of them, so that they see, like, God really did hear me. God's really with me. God's answering those prayers. And listen for the moment where you're no longer leading them because they're echoing it without you leading them, Because I have moments like that where before I can tell one of our children, like, see what God did? They're already like, God really did something for me. And I'm like, that's right, pointing them in the right direction.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, ladies. What an incredible day 2 of Grace Under Fire 2026. I honestly don't even know where to begin to start unpacking because everything was so incredible, from the panel discussion, absolutely, to the debutante takeover, to what we just experienced at the fireside chat. So I want to know, and I hope that you all are leaving today's sessions feeling encouraged, feeling challenged, and reminded that you have everything you need to remain unshaken. So hit me up in the chats. Let's hear. I want to know. Let's take a moment to check in with one another. What were some of your favorite moments? I started saying or asking you all, what is one word of how you're feeling? I now want to revisit that and really check back in with you all. Now that we've been able to nourish ourselves and feed our spirits, how are you feeling? Are you feeling refreshed? Are you feeling challenged, inspired? This was such an amazing session. While y'all are getting active in the chat, I just want to tell y'all some of the things that I walked away with, right? Because I was over here taking my notes and I also was feasting on this good word. What is for you won't miss you. How about that? That was really encouraging and some reinforcement that I myself needed to hear. Also loved when they were saying, I think it was Dr. Anita said, having your turn in the dark also means you will have your turn in the light. And what a good perspective that is, of that balance and how everything really does come full circle and God is in control. Someone said they're feeling empowered. I know that's right. I feel the same way. Motivated. Yes, you too can do this. And the journey is not over. You still have it within you. I feel satisfied. Yes, totally refreshed. Someone else said that the fireside chat was the most beneficial for me. It was for me too. I think it was really cool. We always see Woman Evolved and you see the lights and the stage, but to really take a step back and really understand the origin of it, the logistics of it, and just how amazing God has really taken that and just blown it out of proportion in the best way possible. So yes, amazing. Thank you, SJR and Lady Serita Jakes. God bless you. Absolutely. I love it. Thank you all so much for being active. Thank you for tuning in. Before we end, can we talk about the debutante takeover? Yeah, that was an amazing experience. I loved seeing our young debutantes be able to speak about all of the nuggets and all of the wisdom that they've taken away from this program. They talked about the confidence, and the confidence is real. I can tell you as a mentor, some of these ladies come in on the first day, they're shy, they're reserved, they're just trying to scope out the scene. By the end of the session, they are best friends. They're talking. You can just see the change. And I think that really speaks to just how amazing this program is. So I love the mentorship. I love the sisterhood and all the opportunities for them to grow and to really cater into all of the things that they want to do in this world. So to all of our debutantes that are watching, we are so proud of you. I hope you know that you are cherished, you are loved, you are seen, and we got your back. So thank you so much for sharing your voices and showing us what leadership looks like at any age. We're talking about future world shakers here. And to anyone who has ever supported this program, thank you. It's because of you and your belief in what has stood for over the past 30 years. 30, that is no small number and no small feat. Whether through volunteering, through mentorship, sponsorship, or simply just cheering us on virtually, thank you. Your support helps us continue creating spaces where young ladies can grow, thrive, and become all that God has called them to be. Yes, people are in the chat. We love every single deb. We do. Y'all are special. Y'all know that, though. All right, before we close out, in the chat, what is one thing you are taking away from day 2, Grace Under Fire? Someone said that they're feeling aligned, and I think that's really accurate as well. This was just so good, speechless, needed this all so much more than you all truly understand. Thank you for each and every one. This is what it's all about. Again, we're virtual, but we're a sisterhood. We are one in Christ, and I love that we are able to engage and really take this time to pour into ourselves as we continue to walk this life out. So let's see. Oh, hello. Okay, so yesterday, Lady Raven did a good job of showcasing all of the fun things that are in the deluxe box, but I wanted to reiterate just how amazing this box is. Okay, so first of all, every purchase directly supports Distinctively Debutante College Fund and helps us continue creating opportunities that invest in the future of our young ladies. Because of the support we've received from our community over the past 4 years, you guys, we've been able to award more than $1.3 million in college scholarships to our graduating debutantes. $1.3 million because of your donations and because of the impact that you all are helping to provide to this amazing program. So the deluxe box, let's talk about the goodies that are in there. First, if you're like me, I love a t-shirt. So we have this beautiful Kept Like Daniel t-shirt. It can work out. You can sleep in it. You can go out into the world grocery shopping. It's multi-purposeful, okay? The mug. Who don't like a good mug? I love a good mug. This Kept Like Daniel mug, faithful, focused, unchanged. This is also included. We have a journal. I told you all, I was down jotting my notes of all of the good nuggets. We have a Covered in Grace journal that's also included in this deluxe box. And I think the most special, most sentimental thing that we have to offer in this box is this anointing oil from our very own Mrs. Serita Jakes. As I mentioned, the kids are going back to school. People are starting new chapters, new careers, just newness in their life. And this oil can really bless you. So head over to the registration site. It's at distinctivelyher.org/events to grab your box today. You do not want to miss it. As we wrap up day 2, I just truly want to thank you all for showing up, for leaning in and being part of this amazing experience. Join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time for our very own Pastor Cora Jakes. She's going to be ushering us in a morning prayer session. Prayer warrior, you all are familiar with her game. I don't have to say much more about that. So tomorrow, 9 a.m. I think we all know what tomorrow holds. So leave your lashes on the counter. Go ahead, remove them. Keep a makeup wipe handy and wait until after prayer to put that makeup wipe or to put your makeup actually on, because we're going to want a clean palette, because we're going to set our alarms. We're going to grab our coffee, our energy. bring that journal that I talked about, and meet us right back here tomorrow morning. And don't forget, we're getting out into the community tomorrow. I love that we're extending this out into the community immediately after prayer for Community Impact Day. It doesn't matter where you choose to serve, just make sure you get out and serve in your community tomorrow. Someone said Pastor Cora had me on the floor last year. Same, okay? It's going to be a time. Be sure to tag us in all your photos and videos on Instagram at Distinctively Her, and make sure that you're using those hashtags so we can see all of the collective footage and the pics and the testimonies that are to come. And that hashtag is hashtag Grace Under Fire 2026. And for tomorrow, it's hashtag Community Impact Day. Thank you again so much for joining us for day 2 of Grace Under Fire. It has been a pleasure to be with you tonight. I hope you all have a beautiful evening, and we'll see you back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central. Have a good evening, ladies.